Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Uninterrupted. I'm your host, Chris Hammonds, and with me today is our COO, John Fausz. John, say hello.
Hey, everybody.
All right, we're going to get right into it. And what we're going to talk about today is a type of hack or a type of an attack that a lot of people just aren't familiar with. Hack, right? Yeah. And it's it's known as living off the land. And John's going to talk a little bit more about that. I got some questions for him. So, John, when you hear living off the land in cybersecurity, in plain English, what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's really a military kind of topic that goes on from there. And what it really is I get access to a place or a thing, and then I don't do anything that's immediately obvious as being bad. I'm not installing suspicious software. I'm not doing anything there. I'm just looking at what resources do I have access to first to see what I'm able to get away with and what I'm able to do.
Gotcha. And why would an attacker choose to use tools that are already inside a company's environment instead of kind of bringing their own malware?
Well, so a lot of your automated malware detection systems have gotten pretty decently good. There's a thing that looks at that they'll be signature-based, but also a little bit of heuristic-based, so it's kind of trying to detect behaviors to a certain extent, although they're not great at it. But anytime that you install new software on a system, as a hacker, that brings some intrinsic risk involved that they're going to detect you. So the first thing that a lot of these hackers will do when they get access to a system, and really it's the first thing that I do whenever I run an audit as well, right, is I'll just sit down at a system and see, what do I have access to? What roadblocks are in my way to stop me from potentially stealing data or finding out what's there first so that then I can do the most damage possible? If we're talking about the three bad things, is there something there that I can get in the middle of a financial transaction or steal money directly? Is there some sensitive data that I have access to that I can go ahead and steal that I can then blackmail you for? Or is there a way that I can potentially lock up the system and encrypt you so that you would pay a ransom later? But what we're really looking at is the first two pieces of that, of the three bad things. Can I get access to financial information? Can I get access to sensitive data? Steal that information in a way that I can use it against you in the future. And so if I don't install any software to do that, I'm not raising any red flags potentially other than user behavior of somebody that's sitting down at that system. Now, if you're even have a basic of modern cybersecurity from, let's say, 5 years ago, if you sit down and try to install Mimikatz or you try to install one of these offensive hacking tools, even if you try to run Wireshark or you try to look at the packets that come through, sometimes running port scan, anytime that you run any of these in-map tools or any things that you maybe have no idea what I'm talking about that are in the hacker playbook and a lot of hacker playbooks, then that brings at risk that you're going to be caught. And so if you can live off the land, use the applications that are already installed there, thinking that, hey, these applications are probably installed there for a reason and they're probably allowed already to run, then it's going to reduce the amount of time that you're caught as a threat actor.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Now, what are some, just if you had a couple examples, some of the legitimate pieces of software that you've seen people use maliciously?
Yeah, so like your team viewers or any remote access software, that's 100% right there. And sometimes we'll see a little subset of living off the land where they'll install something innocuous like that, where it depends on, is it good or not, depends on the hands of who it's in. And so we'll often sometimes see somebody logging into a SaaS application like a Dropbox or a Google Workspaces or just a Google Drive to actually do the data exfiltration. They'll log into a Microsoft 365 account that's a hacker one. That's not what your organization is, so they can exfiltrate data that way. So let me paint this little scenario for you of what I've seen from an audit. I go and I sit down at a front desk person's computer and I go look, and I pull up their drives, and okay, they don't have a lot of access to the drives that they have, but I pull up the server list. So I pull up the server, that's the shared drive, and I go // server name, enter. And that brings up the list of all the shared drives that are mapped off of that server that maybe they're not mapped on this person's computer. Okay, well, I start double clicking. What can I see? Well, I double click in there and I start to see, okay, well, I have access to the finance drive because the permissionings are not set right on the server. So even though I don't have it shared, I have access to it and I can go look at it. Well, from that point, I was able to find W-2 information. I was able to find company financial information, social security numbers, reports for financials, all these sorts of things that this front desk person had that they shouldn't have had access to. If I was a hacker, we were only one step away from me just logging into a Microsoft account and uploading that information to a OneDrive and probably never being spotted. So first touch, first access, somebody clicks on a bad email link, and then you're able to have data exfiltration happen at a point where nobody knew that this person had access to the information that they shouldn't have had access to. And so that's what the hackers are doing because they know it's valuable.
Right.
And a lot of companies are backing up their systems now. The backups are pretty decent. The hackers try to kill the backups so you have more of an incentive to pay a ransom, but they know that. So they know that if you're backed up and you're less likely to pay a ransom due to your operational downtime, well, they're going to go after the sensitive data and steal that and blackmail you to get it back, right? And so that's what they're realistically doing, and that's what they're looking for, and that's what living off the land is. And it's harder to detect because you have to look for user behavior. You have to look for, hey, are these people starting to step outside of what they would normally get access to? What are they running? Do you have application allow listing that prevents these people from running even normal-ish softwares that they don't already have loaded? Do you have the ability to have a security operations center that's looking for that unusual user behavior? Are you seeing unusual behavior at 3 in the morning, which might be daytime for a hacker, right? Are you seeing these sorts of things and looking out for it? Because if your goal is preventing the 3 bad things and you're looking correctly to prevent the 3 bad things, and you can put the effective guardrails around them and then go from there.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is if it's legitimate software, basically how you detect it, and you want to look for those indicators of compromise. And
well, you want to know what you're supposed to have, so identify.
Yep.
You want to protect what you can, knowing that you can't protect everything, but then now that red line happens where a bad event happens. How fast do you detect that unauthorized access or that unauthorized usage, and then respond and recover from that situation? Sometimes your response and recovery can literally be, I detected this because the hacker told me that they stole 300 gigs of data, which we've seen at a company before. One of the companies that called us after they've been hacked, they ended up paying the ransom because the hacker stole 300 gigs worth of data, and it was sensitive enough that they wanted to pay that blackmail, so the hacker said that they removed it. That was the detection, response, and recovery. The detection was, we found out after the data was stolen. They gave us proof that the data was stolen. The response was, okay, we pay them money and then it gets recovered that way, right? And so you never want to do that, but it just, that's it. You're going to detect and respond and recover in some way. It just depends on how impactful it is to your organization is how fast you can detect it.
Gotcha. Now, is this something only, you're talking about stealing data. Is this something only large enterprises need to be worried about, or is this across all businesses?
I mean, if any business uses computers, I've never seen one that doesn't have data that's not valuable. And the hackers know exactly what the value is of this data. Even personal information from some of these organizations, from some of the employees that they have, employees' records. I've seen companies that are 2 or 3 people get hacked and the employee records get stolen and financial data gets stolen. I mean, at the end of the day, even if it's a 2 or 3 person company, if a hacker can gain $10,000, $15,000, that's a fantastic ROI in the amount of effort that they put into it. And so it really is, any size organization has data that has value. The hackers have value. They know that people will pay to get access to it back or delete access. And so that's why this works these days, is because of those types of things.
Gotcha. And that's called living off the land. So now you know, and stay tuned. Follow us for our next episode, and we're going to talk about some other ways hackers are getting in and gaining initial access.
Yeah, and you guys have any other questions about how to stop this, how to prevent it, whatever, please reach out to us. If you have any ideas for video topics that you'd like to see us cover, we're going to be doing more of these about specific topics and things like that. Reach out and let us know. Thanks, y'all, and have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Uninterrupted, a podcast from Fausz Cybersecurity. We hope you walked away with practical insights to protect your business and stay ahead of the latest cyber threats. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. For more tips, resources, and cybersecurity updates, visit Forbis.com, that's 4bis.com, and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay vigilant and stay uninterrupted.